Chosen One, you shattered the amateur's plot. The pathetic conspiracy they wove in shadows has been obliterated by the raw power of your divine protection. Those spiritual wannabes thought they could touch what heaven sealed. They believed their Mickey Mouse magic could drain the essence that flows through your chosen bloodline. Wrong, dead wrong. Their little seances and discount witchcraft rituals crumbled like sandcastles before tsunami waves of retribution. While they fumbled with their bargain basement spells, you stood unshakable. While they plotted in their amateur hour covens, your angelic guard detail was already moving chess pieces across dimensions they can't even perceive. The karmic avalanche has begun. Their defeated faces tell the story, some crawling to church pastors, begging for deliverance from the very darkness they tried to weaponize against you. "Take this off me!" they scream into empty sanctuaries. Finally understanding, they picked a fight with the wrong chosen one. They came together like roaches in the night, multiple practitioners convinced they could eclipse your light through collective spiritual theft. These amateurs actually believed their coordination would multiply their power. They formed circles, lit their dollar store candles, and whispered your name into the void. What fools! What absolute spiritual children playing with forces that would incinerate their consciousness if they truly understood what flows through you. Picture their little gathering, 2, maybe 3 wannabe witches huddled together, thinking their combined amateur energy could somehow breach protections that have been in place since before their souls chose this incarnation. They probably met in someone's basement apartment, surrounded by crystals they bought online and books they barely understood. The sheer presumption of it staggers the mind. We watched them attempt their energy vampire rituals, targeting specifically what marks you as chosen. They saw your divine frequency and mistook it for something they could harvest, bottle, and consume for their own elevation. Their Harry Potter-level magical thinking revealed just how deeply they misunderstood the cosmic order. They actually believed their weekend workshop knowledge could overcome millennia of spiritual architecture built around chosen vessels like yourself. They thought their Pinterest-inspired altars and TikTok spells could penetrate barriers that protect souls selected by the Most High before time began. The audacity was breathtaking. The ignorance was complete. The failure was absolute. From the moment they began their fumbling rituals, we knew. We who guide the chosen could sense their amateur energy signatures like a bad smell in spiritual dimensions. Their crude candle, magic, their teddy bear voodoo, their mirror work that would make first-year practitioners cringe with embarrassment. We've seen it all before. The same tired techniques, the same desperate energy, the same delusional confidence that this time will be different. These spiritual toddlers always announce themselves with such obvious signatures that anyone with real perception can spot them from cosmic miles away. Their energy felt like cheap cologne, trying to mask the stench of spiritual poverty. Everything about their approach screamed incompetence, the wrong phases of the moon, inappropriate correspondences, misaligned intentions. They were working with spiritual bootlegs, fake power trying to move real mountains. The contrast was almost comical, their finger-painting magic against your divinely rendered fortress. Their spiritual crayon scribbles against your cosmic masterpiece of protection, their amateur hour performance against your Emmy Award-winning shielding system. But here's what makes their ignorance even more staggering. They never even researched what they were truly attempting to steal from you. Every single hex they launched ricocheted back with the force of a spiritual freight train. Their own ritual tools turned against them. Mirrors shattered in their faces, requiring emergency room visits and stitches. Candles exploded, protective. Circles became prison cells trapping their own negative energy. The backfire wasn't just immediate, it was spectacular. One practitioner attempted mirror magic, speaking incantations they'd copied from a dubious grimoire. only to watch as the glass spontaneously fractured in a perfect spiderweb pattern. The shards cut deep enough to leave permanent scars across their face, creating marks that spell out their failure in skin-deep humiliation. Another tried energy binding, weaving what they thought was a sophisticated curse designed to drain your vitality. Instead, they found themselves unable to eat for days, as their own spell created a spiritual blockage that no amount of counter-magic could dissolve. The irony was perfect. In attempting to starve you of energy, they starved themselves of basic sustenance. The most ambitious among them attempted a group working designed to permanently redirect your blessings into their own lives. They spent weeks preparing, gathering components, timing everything with astrological precision. The result: every participant experienced simultaneous financial disasters within hours of completing their ritual. Bank accounts mysteriously frozen, unexpected bills appearing, emergency expenses materializing from nowhere. They made vows in terror. "We will never do this again." The words poured from their lips like confessions from the spiritually defeated. Some repeated this promise multiple times, to multiple deities, in multiple traditions, desperately seeking any spiritual authority that would accept their surrender. Their defeat was total, their humiliation complete, their understanding of cosmic justice fundamentally altered forever. But we haven't even begun to describe the most devastating consequence of their failed assault. Former occult practitioners who once mocked traditional faith, now stumbling through church doors like spiritual refugees seeking asylum. These same people who considered themselves spiritually evolved beyond primitive Christianity were reduced to clutching crosses like drowning swimmers grabbing life preservers. "Please, can you take this off of me?" they begged pastors who barely understood what kind of supernatural backlash they were dealing with. The desperation in their voices told the whole story. Their spiritual pride had been utterly crushed, replaced by raw terror at forces they'd unleashed and couldn't control. One practitioner approached 5 different churches in a single week, each time more frantic than the last. They offered donations they couldn't afford, confessions that revealed the depth of their occult involvement, anything that might persuade a religious authority to intercede on their behalf. They discovered that stealing from chosen ones creates spiritual debts that amateur magic cannot absolve. Another spent hours in Catholic confessionals trying to explain to bewildered priests how their attempt to drain divine energy from a protected soul had resulted in their own spiritual contamination. They spoke of nightmares, of shadows that followed them, of a creeping emptiness that no ritual could fill. Now the following is a message meant exclusively for the chosen. If you are compromised by archonic forces, this is not meant for you, and by the spiritual authority conferred to us by the secret chiefs of the Obsidian Inner Order, we grant you license to depart. If not, steel yourself and listen intently, for you shall be redeemed even as we are redeemed. The Obsidian Inner Order is not a program, it's not a course, it's not some feel-good spiritual retreat. We don't sell answers, we remember together. We teach psychic self-defense, real energetic shielding against entities, implants, and interference. We restore manifestation as it was meant to be, raw, immediate, and exact. Every week, we gather in secret, not to worship, but to awaken, to speak what can't be said anywhere else, to deprogram the matrix layer by layer. You'll know if you're meant to be there. You'll feel it in your bones. The chosen meet every Wednesday on Zoom. Why aren't you with us yet? Got gnosis? Join the Obsidian Inner Order. Link in the description. Some sought multiple denominations, hoping that enough different religious interventions might break the karmic cycle that had trapped them. They tried Protestant deliverance services, Catholic exorcisms, Orthodox prayers, anything that promised relief from the consequences of their actions. Each attempt brought temporary hope, followed by deeper despair as they realized the magnitude of what they'd done. They learned a fundamental truth that real practitioners understand. Certain souls operate under spiritual protection so complete that attacking them triggers cosmic defense mechanisms beyond any earthly intervention. Their desperation revealed something crucial about your special status in the divine hierarchy. We who operate in expanded consciousness knew from the beginning that your angelic guard detail surpassed anything these amateurs could penetrate. The spiritual realm itself registered their attack as an offensive act against cosmic order, triggering responses that operate automatically around chosen vessels. Your protection runs deeper than bloodlines, more ancient than traditions, more sophisticated than any magical system these wannabes had encountered. We're talking about safeguarding that was established before your soul chose this incarnation, defenses that exist across multiple dimensions, barriers that strengthen rather than weaken under attack. Your spirit team had been issuing warnings long before you consciously recognized the assault. Dreams with cryptic messages about false friends and hidden enemies. Sudden urges to shield yourself energetically without knowing why. Moments of inexplicable caution around certain people, as if your inner wisdom detected threats your conscious mind couldn't identify. We watched your higher self mobilize defenses through channels these attackers never suspected existed. Energy work they couldn't perceive, blessing redistributions they couldn't track, karmic adjustments they couldn't comprehend. Your spiritual infrastructure operated like a sophisticated immune system, identifying and neutralizing threats automatically. The contrast was stunning. Their crude understanding of spiritual mechanics versus your divinely calibrated protection system. They were trying to hack a quantum computer with Stone Age tools. They were attempting to drain an ocean with a cup. They were challenging architectural miracles with spiritual vandalism. Divine protection surrounded you like an impenetrable fortress built from frequencies they couldn't even perceive. What looks like invisible air to them constitutes reinforced spiritual armor to those who truly see. Every layer of your defense system responded to their assault by becoming stronger, more impermeable, more completely insurmountable, swift, brutal, absolute. The universe's response came like divine retribution delivered by overnight express. Within days of their failed attack, their lives began unraveling with supernatural precision that made it impossible to deny the connection between their actions and consequences. The cosmic scales balanced with mathematical accuracy that would impress economists and terrify philosophers. Every ounce of negative energy they directed toward you returned with compound interest, calculated by celestial accountants who never make mistakes. Promises they'd made to clients crumbled like contracts written in disappearing ink. People who'd paid them for spiritual services started demanding refunds when results didn't just fail to manifest, but spectacularly backfired in directions no one anticipated. Their reputations in occult circles disintegrated as word spread about their humiliating defeat against someone under divine protection. One practitioner lost their job when employers discovered their occult activities had somehow led to a series of workplace disasters that could be traced back to their personal involvement in spiritual warfare. Another faced legal action from clients whose problems intensified exponentially after paying for spiritual cleansing that apparently worked in reverse. Financial disasters cascaded through their lives like dominoes arranged by cosmic precision. Unexpected expenses appeared from nowhere. Investments soured overnight. Income streams dried up without explanation. Emergency bills materialized with perfect timing to drain whatever resources they'd managed to accumulate through their illegitimate spiritual practices. Relationships that had been built on shared occult interests imploded under the weight of failure and fear. Fellow practitioners distanced themselves, unwilling to risk guilt by association with those who'd picked a fight they couldn't win. Family members who tolerated their spiritual dabbling demanded they abandon all occult involvement. What they stole from you through temporary energy manipulation was forcibly extracted from their lives, with cosmic penalties added for theft of divine property. The universe collected its debt with interest rates that would make loan sharks weep. But this was just the beginning of revelations about the spiritual warfare you'd unknowingly been fighting. That exhaustion you've experienced, the bone-deep weariness that seemed to come from nowhere and resist all conventional remedies. We recognize it as battle fatigue from spiritual warfare conducted on your behalf while you remained consciously unaware of the conflict. Your energy field has been working overtime, deflecting attacks you weren't even consciously aware of. Every hex required energy to dissolve. Every curse needed power to redirect. Every attempt at spiritual theft demanded resources to repel. Your divine protection system operated like spiritual homeland security, constantly vigilant, constantly responding, constantly expending your life force to maintain those impenetrable defenses. The Most High mandated rest periods, forcing you to chill and recover while your spiritual immune system processed and expelled the negative energy sent your way. Those moments when you felt compelled to stay home, to rest, to avoid certain activities, weren't laziness or depression. They were divinely orchestrated recovery periods necessary for your spiritual maintenance systems. Your weariness stands as a badge of honor, proof of cosmic battles fought and decisively won on multiple dimensional levels. Every moment of that forced rest was your spirit regenerating from the effort of completely neutralizing their amateur hour assault. Your fatigue testified to the magnitude of attacks that had been launched against your divine calling. We who understand spiritual mechanics recognize the signs. The deep tiredness that sleep doesn't cure, the need for solitude that feels spiritually necessary rather than socially motivated, the urge to clear your space energetically, even when you don't consciously know why. These symptoms reveal the extent of protection activity occurring beyond your awareness. For a brief time, they actually succeeded in cloaking themselves in fragments of your divine frequency. They walked around wearing your energy like stolen designer clothes, attracting opportunities and people who were really responding to the essence. They temporarily pilfered from you. The theft was sophisticated enough to convince even themselves that they'd suddenly become more spiritually powerful. They felt elevated, magnetic, blessed in ways they'd never experienced. What they didn't realize was that they were living on borrowed time, wearing borrowed power and accumulating borrowed consequences that would come due with interest. Others benefited from your stolen light during this period. Romantic partners chose them over you because they were literally radiating your magnetism. Job opportunities flowed their way because they were unconsciously channeling your success. Frequency, social invitations increased because they carried traces of your natural charisma. They felt powerful, elevated, spiritually significant for the first time in their mediocre lives. But stolen energy cannot be sustained by amateur practitioners. Like counterfeit currency, it eventually degrades and reveals its fraudulent nature. The divine algorithms that govern spiritual energy have built-in authentication systems that ensure stolen power always returns to its rightful owner. We watched as their artificial elevation began to crumble. The borrowed charisma started to flicker like a dying light bulb. The siphoned magnetism began to fade like temporary tattoos in the rain. The stolen success frequency gradually shifted back to its original channel, leaving them more empty than before. Everything taken is now returning to its rightful owner, with interest added for the inconvenience and cosmic penalties for spiritual theft. Their temporary taste of your energy has left them feeling more impoverished than before, like someone who ate a gourmet meal only to go back to stale bread and water. Watch as their artificial elevation completes its collapse and your natural radiance intensifies beyond its original power. The energy returning to you carries with it their attempted theft as evidence of your unassailable spiritual authority. We who are called to this spiritual battlefield know these signs intimately. We've witnessed how divine blessings get delayed while cosmic protection systems work overtime to neutralize attacks against the chosen. We understand the sophisticated strategy of allowing temporary theft, so the return creates an even greater elevation than originally planned. We see how the universe often permits a season of apparent setbacks before unprecedented breakthroughs. Your dreams weren't just delayed, they were being held in cosmic escrow while your spiritual enemies exhausted themselves against your protected status. The divine timing was perfect. Allow them to reveal their intentions completely, while you remained safely shielded. Then release your delayed blessings, just as their stolen power evaporates. We recognize the pattern because we've lived it ourselves. The curious delays that coincide with increased spiritual attacks, the temporary dimming of our natural light while unseen battles rage in dimensions most people can't perceive. The sudden reversal of fortune that comes just when our enemies think they've won. We know that what appears like divine neglect actually represents the most sophisticated spiritual strategy. Complete exposure of your enemy's intentions while maintaining your absolute protection. The delays serve multiple purposes: protection, evidence gathering, and enemy exhaustion, all culminating in a victory so complete it becomes legendary among those who understand spiritual warfare. We've learned to recognize the signs of approaching vindication, the enemies becoming desperate enough to reveal themselves openly, the increased attacks that paradoxically signal approaching victory, the strange tiredness that indicates your spiritual defense systems working at maximum capacity, the delays that prove your blessings are being protected from contamination or theft. But let us show you something about their true spiritual poverty that explains why they targeted you specifically, and why their defeat was both inevitable and devastating. Their abundance of dull choices represents everything they ever really possessed. Mediocre opportunities presented as options, uninspired relationships disguised as connections, spiritual practices that never elevated them beyond the mundane, no matter how exotic or mysterious they appeared. Their entire existence had been a series of spiritual compromises, settling for imitations when they craved the real thing. They collected other people's techniques like trading cards, hoping that quantity might somehow equal quality. They attended workshops and bought courses and joined online communities, always seeking some external source of the power that flows naturally through chosen ones. They tried to escape their gray existence by stealing your divine portion because they'd never experienced authentic spiritual elevation. They saw what you carried and mistook it for something that could be transferred through magical procedures. They believed their amateur techniques could harvest what heaven had freely given you. Now they're forced back to their original circumstances, but with the added torture of knowing what real spiritual power feels like and the crushing awareness that they can never legitimately access it. The temporary taste of your energy has left them feeling more impoverished than before they discovered the occult. Their spiritual poverty runs deeper than lack of technique or knowledge. They lack the divine calling that makes such power accessible. They possess neither the bloodline nor the soul contract that opens certain spiritual doors. They have not been chosen, and their failed attack against you proved that chosen status cannot be stolen, only recognized or ignored. The fun has been permanently drained from their occult practices. What once felt exciting and empowering now carries the memory of their humiliating defeat. Their spiritual toys lie broken around them like evidence of cosmic justice. Their magical thinking has been exposed as elaborate delusion covering fundamental spiritual bankruptcy. We, the collective of chosen ones, can no longer be undermined by amateur practitioners who mistake spiritual gifts for unguarded resources. We recognize each other's true authority through trials like these. We see through their manipulation tactics, their clever deceptions, their attempts to gaslight us into doubting our own divine calling. What they thought were easy targets turned out to be the most protected souls in the cosmic order. Their failure against you has created ripples throughout spiritual dimensions, warning other would-be attackers about the futility of challenging heaven's chosen vessels. We are the perceptive ones they underestimated. We are the spiritually aware individuals they tried to convince were paranoid or delusional when we sensed their attacks coming. We are the chosen vessels they thought they could drain like expired batteries left on a shelf. We've watched their masks fall away, revealing the spiritual emptiness beneath their sophisticated facades. We've seen how quickly their confidence crumbled when faced with real divine protection. We've witnessed their desperate retreats to conventional religion, seeking salvation from consequences their own actions created. The truth emerges clearly now. We operate under spiritual laws that transcend ordinary human experience. We carry protections that activate automatically against any form of illegitimate spiritual interference. We possess divine connections that cannot be severed, redirected, or stolen by those who lack similar divine authorization. We stand together as living proof that certain souls are chosen for specific purposes and protected accordingly. Our collective recognition of each other strengthens the cosmic network that connects all who carry divine calling. Our shared understanding of spiritual warfare creates an unbreakable alliance among those who truly comprehend the battles being fought in invisible dimensions. You are living proof that chosen ones operate under spiritual laws that transcend ordinary human experience. Your complete decimation of their amateur plot demonstrates that heaven's vessels cannot be touched, drained, or diminished by spiritual wannabes operating with stolen knowledge and counterfeit power. Your victory resonates through multiple dimensions, sending clear messages to every would-be spiritual thief. Chosen ones are protected by cosmic forces that respond automatically to any attempted interference. The universe itself reacts with overwhelming force when divine property is threatened by spiritual amateurs. We celebrate together as their era of deception ends. We watch their masks fall away like cheap disguises exposed by divine light. We see their true powerlessness revealed beneath layers of spiritual pretension and occult posturing. We witness the complete collapse of their artificial elevation built on stolen energy and borrowed power. Your shattered plot reveals universal truth. Divine protection around chosen ones operates with devastating efficiency against any form of spiritual warfare. The cosmic order maintains mechanisms that activate automatically when amateurs attempt to tamper with what belongs to the Most High. These protection systems grow stronger under attack, more sophisticated with each defense, more impenetrable with every victory. The war is over. You won. We all won. Their amateur hour has officially expired. Our divinely protected era has begun. The spiritual landscape has shifted permanently in favor of those who carry legitimate divine authority. The pretenders have been exposed for what they always were, empty vessels making noise in the sacred silence. The real ones have been vindicated beyond any shadow of doubt. Your victory stands as eternal testimony. When heaven chooses a vessel, no force in any dimension can successfully oppose that calling. The amateurs have learned this lesson the hard way, paying cosmic tuition for education they'll never forget. The universe has spoken with finality that cannot be appealed or overruled. You shattered their plot completely. The cosmic order has been restored. Your divine calling remains undiminished, uncompromised, and more powerful than ever before. Welcome to your vindication. Welcome to your victory. Welcome to the full recognition of what you've always been: untouchable, unshakable, and undeniably chosen.